Well, here we are again, sitting in our streaming online radio entrepreneur studios. My name is Jeffrey Davis. I'm the host of Radio Entrepreneurs. And anyone who's listened to me over the last 3 years knows that I can't wait for Phil Sharkey, president and owner of the Higher Authority, Sheriff Sharkey, we call him on Radio Entrepreneurs. More stories, more depressing stories of our current inability to hire the right people. Welcome back, Phil.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much. As you know, it's always a pleasure to be on with you. And I thought today we'd take our listeners a little bit a different route here, as we've been talking all summer about our two prominent liars this year with George Santos, the congressperson from New York, and Elizabeth Holmes, the creator and owner of CEO of Theranos, the medical discovery company that came up with such a great situation where you just do a fingerprint prick of blood and you no longer have to do painful blood screening, and she could identify things from cholesterol to heart problems to cancer. And unfortunately, it was all fraudulent. She knew it. She knew it didn't work, and she sold it, as we've talked about endlessly, to the tune of billions of dollars, and then is now currently in jail. So I thought it'd be fun, Jeff, if we tested you on how you've paid attention this summer. And I'm going to give you some facts, some statements from each individual, some lies, flat out lies, or just claim quotes that they've said. And you're going to tell myself and the listening audience which one it is, and we will keep score as to your accuracy.
You know, but Phil, it's really my family's responsibility to make me look stupid, not yours.
Well, I can't wait to try. So if you don't mind, I'd like to jump right into it.
I'm ready. I got my pen and paper in front of me.
Excellent. Excellent. So this, and I have to be careful because, again, we could do so many claims that will identify the person immediately, but I'm going to try and keep it very neutral here. So this contestant, if you would, Jeff, at the age of 7, tried to invent their own time machine and worked on it diligently until the age of 9 and thoroughly believed that it would work and that they could make it work. So would that be, again, our choices are George Santos or Elizabeth Holmes? Which one of those two stellar crazy people do you think made that claim?
Well, I wish it was me, and I'm not one of the people I could say. I mean, I'd like to have my hair back, but I'll say Elizabeth because she was more the scientist.
You're exactly right. That was Elizabeth Holmes, and I know not to pick on her, and we all make claims as a youngster, but it sort of set up that profile for her where when she believed in something, darn it, it was going to be truthful, whether it would work or be the thought of a 7-year-old. Actually, her blood program was really the thought of a 7-year-old. It could never work.
Well, I just think that she was probably watching one of my favorite cartoons, and that was Professor Peabody. And, and she probably saw the time machine, the Wayback Machine. And, I've always wanted to be in the Wayback Machine, but it just doesn't happen that way.
It just doesn't happen that way. So again, we'll give her a break though, as being a youngster. So let's move on to another claim. This one, we'll try to keep you guessing, but this one, they claim to be, here we go, compare themselves to civil rights pioneer Rosa Parks. So this compared themselves exactly to Rosa Parks. So which one of our two people would you say made that claim?
Well, I'm a Jewish person who sat at the back of the bus by choice, and I would say George Santos.
George did, and this was somewhat recently, and he just came out very aggressively, which he often does, and he said, "You want to call me a liar? I call you a sellout, Jeff." He goes, "I mean like the Mitt Romneys of the world, the man who goes to the State of the Union of the United States wearing a Ukraine label pin. He tells me, a Latin gay man, that I shouldn't sit in the front. Well, guess what? Rosa Parks didn't sit in the back, and neither am I going to sit in the back. That's just how it works." Now, when they asked Romney about this, he's like, I don't know what he's talking about, because what he's talking about was the State of the Union address, wherein I applaud Romney compared to some of our other politicians who simply stopped and grabbed his arm and said, "You don't belong here." His exact words were like, "Look, he's a sick puppy. He shouldn't have been there," the senator told reporters after Biden's speech. "He shouldn't be in Congress. They're going through the process, and hopefully they will get him out. But he shouldn't be there. If he had any shame at all, he wouldn't be there."
Well, and not that I'm not saying I voted for Mitt Romney, but he was the CEO of Bain Capital, and actually for the first time in history ran an Olympics in Atlanta that didn't lose money, which I think those two accomplishments are quite substantial and real for Mitt Romney, not fake.
Right. And for people who always want a businessman instead of a politician, And again, I didn't, not getting into a political debate, but those are pretty good accomplishments right there. So Jeff, I know we have to move along. So our next contestant liked to dress and look and sound like Steve Jobs.
Oh, that's George.
No, we got you on this one. That was actually Elizabeth Holmes. She actually even changed her voice and dressed all in black. If you Google her out there, people, you'll see a whole history of her, on the Silicon Valley dress. Changing her voice, I thought was interesting. So she literally in interviews would change her voice to Steve Jobs. So I'm so glad we got you on that one. Let's continue right along because I have so many to get to. This is one of my favorites. This contestant claimed to be a volleyball player on the team in college, and they slayed both Harvard and Yale, their team. And they were so serious about their volleyball, ended up having knee replacements on both knees. I know you've had some foot problems as well recently. So which one of our two was a claimed volleyball star?
Well, I'm going to do it again, George.
That is George. And it's interesting that I'm not sure of his size. But he, of course, as we know, his educational claims, he never graduated from college as he claimed. And in fact, in high school, he didn't even graduate from the high school he claimed. He got a GED. He even made up this whole story about this prestigious high school he was going to and could no longer go because of money. And he never was in the school for a day. So you're back on roll there. You got that one exactly correct. Here's a great one, Jeff. This person claimed to have landed roles in Hannah Montana and The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody for Disney plans. Also was in a movie with Uma Thurman called The Invasion. An actual claim. And these are verified by my staff of claims.
I almost have to flip a coin. I'm going to go the other way around. Elizabeth.
We got you again. That was George. I tried to double up on George. And in fact, Uma Thurman was never in any movie called The Invasion. And it's interesting with those claims because that was right at the time he would have been in college as the volleyball star. So I don't think you can do both. So we got you again.
We're back to my high school average. I'm batting 60%.
You are. So, but these are tough. So this one claimed when doubted that this is what they said. This was their quote. This is what happens when you work to change things, Jeff. First, they think you're crazy. Then they fight you. And then all of a sudden you change the world. So that's not a false situation, but a strong wording from one of our.
I could pick either one of them for that. So that's not fair because they probably both have said it in some version. But again, I'll go with Elizabeth on this one.
You're back on ding, ding, ding. That's what she actually said on the stand when she was being tried for her fraudulencies. And again, I believe she probably believes that right to her current days in jail. Let me give you, you're on a roll, so this one you might know pretty well, but they claim to be a proud American Jew. Later, they amended that to being Jewish. And of course, they're not at all of Jewish descent at all. Which one?
Well, I didn't invite him to my bar mitzvah, but I would say George.
That was George. And then he, of course, doubled down and also claimed that his grandparents were survivors of the Holocaust. And again, I know we're having fun here, but what a despicable claim. And I like to point out to people when they say I'm judge and jury pointing things out. He did this in the realm speaking to a Jewish American group, trying to garner votes, trying to be likable. So the truth be damned, he's just going to flat out tell them what would make them like him more, apparently.
He just wanted to be a little Jewy. So that was
a little Jewy. That's exactly true. So this contestant, this could be a tough one for you, Jeff. They would lie to coworkers about even minor details, and they would claim to be in emails to be out of the office, even though they were just sitting in their office a few feet away from everyone after everyone observed them walk into their office for the day. Did this constantly. Which one of our two?
Only because I saw the Netflix movie, and I assume she was avoiding a confrontation of truth. I would say Elizabeth.
You are right on the money, and she is the one with a couple of movies about her life story or the story of her wrongdoings. Let me grab just a few more. I know we're running up against the clock.
Number 9, I'm on a hot streak.
You're on a hot streak, so I'll give you 2 more, Jeff. We'll end it with 2 more. So this one was charged with theft in Pennsylvania for allegedly using thousands of dollars in bogus checks to buy puppies from dog breeders. Which one of these 2 entrepreneurs?
Well, I could have said both for that, but once you said the doggy thing, I'm going to say George.
You are right. Yeah, George does have a history with dogs. In fact, he went on, there's a story, it was going to be one of our lines with Richard Ostov, a disabled vet who was living in a tent, whose dog needed $3,000 in surgery. I know both you and I have a closeness with dogs, and he started a GoFundMe page for that gentleman, and that gentleman never got a penny of the money. So interesting thought process from here. And we'll wrap with this one, Jeff. So see if you can end on a hot note. This person claimed to be a co-producer of a Broadway play, Spider-Man, Turn of the Dark. So which one of our two claimed to be a co-producer of a Broadway play?
George.
It's George. It's George. Unfortunately, even the timing doesn't match up. That would have been exactly when he was a volleyball star at Baruch College. So he was really double dipping in the lies. Volleyball, no. Baruch College, no. And not co-producer of the Spider-Man.
Oh, I can make up my own Elizabeth George lie. I can say that now that I've scored 80% on Sheriff Sharkey's, I used my scores to apply to medical school.
Outstanding. You fit right in, and maybe next time we can add you in as a third choice between our two outstanding candidates. So that was just a few of them, but I think you did fairly well. We got you on a few.
Well, since we know for a fact that at least 30 to 40% of all resumes, applications for jobs are falsified, exaggerated, knowing someone like Phil Sharkey is very important. Phil, if some employer needs same day, 24-hour response on a potential hire or employee, how would they find you?
You can call our office, and we actually have people answer the phones, unlike these gigantic screening companies where you don't matter. So that number is 508-230-5901. My email is psharkey, which is my name, at hireauth.com. And you can also reach us right on the web at hireauth.com. That's hireauth.com. You always get a response. You have an actual person here who cares about what we do for our clients.
And you didn't tell us that George Santos was one of the developers of artificial intelligence.
Yes, he's out in front of everything. So he's a very worldly young man. Again, our two contestants, when people beat us up, Jeff, for picking on them, Elizabeth Holm, currently in jail, serving, I think it was 11 to 12 years, just got reduced by 2. George Santos looking at a court trial that could send him to jail as well.
No, George Santos is serving a multi-year sentence as congressperson. So that's to the benefit of the American people. And hopefully, and he probably hopes with a pension for life. Nice to have you on the show again. I want to remind our listeners, this is Radio Entrepreneurs. Phil will be back again throughout the summer on Radio Entrepreneurs.